What's up, guys? We're back with another Dragon Ball Z review, but for the first time, I think, I don't know, ever, we're not taking a look at a Figuarts release, although it is definitely related. We're taking a look at the new Bandai Tamashii Nation's Imagination Works Goku. So this is the 1/9 scale figure that is very Figuartsy, but is not a Figuarts. It's larger, it's got more detail, it's also got seamless parts as well. That's one of the big selling points. So it's very much in the same vein, but at the same time, this is very much its own thing. We've got him here in a pretty snazzy box to start with. So it's a black box with some foil lettering that runs down the spine for the Imagination Works branding. You've got a big shot of Goku there on the front. You've got a shot of Goku on one side, a shot of Super Saiyan Goku on the other, and then the back of the box showcases how you can change up the face plates and how to pose him and what he looks like in and out of Super Saiyan mode. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Imagination Works Goku. This guy is something that I have really wanted to take a look at, really just out of sheer curiosity to see what in the world is going on, what makes this guy different, what makes this thing worthy of being sort of its own line. So I'm really happy that we're getting a look at this guy today. He was provided for review by Bluefin. We'll get that right out of the way. But let's take a look and see what this guy can do, see how he moves around. Of course, one of the major comparisons is obviously going to be to Figuarts, to see what does he do that's different? Is there something better? Or is this just a bigger, I guess, more differently styled figure? And it's kind of a little a column A, a little a column B, because he does move very similarly in some ways to a Figuarts, but then in many ways this is very much its own thing. So let's start with the head, of course. So he can look up, and then he can look down really, really good. This is an independently articulated neck, so you get really good tilt side to side, forward and backward. You do have full rotation at the neck. The arms go out at the shoulders, and they do go up and down, so there's a drop down there. You can swivel up there as well, so all the way around. And then you've got your bicep swivel, which is where things start to get a little bit different, because this guy is a seamless jointed figure when it comes to the arms. So you've got that kind of rubbery skin kind of thing, so there is no actual visible elbow joint there, and you can bend it pretty much all the way, although it does look kind of funny. That's not natural, really. It's not a natural looking joint there, especially when it bends. I'm not usually a stickler for that kind of thing, but it's worth mentioning. I do, however, really, really like the range. It is just superior in many ways, and it is really nice. It feels good, and it's got a nice rigidity while still being very smooth. It does, however, look kind of wonky. You've got your standard ball hinges at the wrist, so forward and backward, and then rotation, and then of course rotate the ball however you want to move it around. At the torso, he goes backwards, and then he goes forwards, but he doesn't go too far forward. There's a ball peg in there, but you've got kind of a rubbery overlay when it comes to the skirt, or the shirt piece rather, and it does kind of ride up, so you'll have to watch that. Tilt side to side is okay, it's a little bit, and then you do have full rotation there. Where he gets kind of weird, and I say weird in the sense that seamless arms aren't already kind of weird just in a general sense, is at the legs. So he kicks forward all the way. He also kicks backward all the way, and he's got really odd hips. These are definitely not what I expected to see. So you can see that they are just sort of like a full piece right here, and he only goes out this far. It's very, very limited. What you have to do is kind of work with the knees and the thigh cut, because he does have a true thigh cut to get as far as like your wide stances. So you can get him to be kind of splayed out decently enough, but you will have to work with different segments of the figure when it comes to those leg joints to make it happen. Thigh cut is a full rotation. You do have double jointed knees, and he's got kind of like that plate in here that will move, so the back of the knee, or the shin rather, will get out of the way, so you get about that far back. It is kind of an odd cut, so you've got this huge piece of the pant leg that comes up over the knee. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing, especially from the side. There's a big old gap in there too. And then you've got rotation down at the ankles. You've got rocker. You've also got a little bit of hinge, not a lot, but it's a decent bit. And then you've got your toe articulation, so kind of the same thing we normally see in a Figuarts. So see what I mean, where he is similar in some ways, but he is very much his own thing. I've had not too many issues getting him into some pretty solid poses. When it comes to articulating the arms and the upper body, he's much easier. You can really get him to reach across his chest really well, do charging up poses with almost no problem whatsoever. Most of the concern and some of the rigidity of the figure really just lies when it comes down to this. The hips are kind of odd and the legs are kind of odd. They're just different. They are not really what I expected them to be. Aesthetically, I am, however, very happy with the way this guy looks in most respects. There are a couple areas where I'm left kind of scratching my head a few ways, but for the most part, I think he looks really good. I get a very Banpresto statue style look with this. There is a little bit better of a likeness and just overall sculpt, especially when it comes to the face, but just the overall body. I think he looks a little bit better proportioned in some ways, and I do like the sizing of this guy. He is very much his own thing. You know, he's like an 8-inch figure roughly, and we will do some size comparisons to other figures, Figuarts of course. So he doesn't really go with a lot of stuff. He's going to kind of be a figure apart for a while until we potentially get more things in this line. But I do, in a general sense, like the design. There is a lot of texture all over, so you've got this sort of rubbery gi piece up here, and it's got texture all over it. There's shading all over the figure. It's various hues of yellow, and then kind of like a burnt orange, kind of almost red in some respects, but not exactly. And you can see it kind of hits all over the figure from the collar, shoulder area down to the chest, and then you've got it all over the pants, specifically on the knees. And it does kind of draw attention to some of these interesting cuts on the joints. The knees are probably the biggest offenders for me, just because they do look different. They're so weird. I don't know really why they have to have these big spikes that come over top. It's really to hide a lot of these holes, I'm sure, but it's visually unappealing in some ways. And then you've got the actual exposed skin, and for the most part, I do think he looks pretty good. There is a ever so slight deviation in color from the molded plastic at the shoulder to the seamless body. So when it comes to the arm, it's very minimal, and in many respects you probably won't notice it, but under the right lighting it'll probably pop out a little bit. Blue is really well done. It's very saturated, very navy blue, so it looks good. It's very true to the show, so I'm happy with that. And in a general sense, I like the way he's proportioned. He does kind of exude that Telltale Goku look and stance and build. So I'm happy with the overall proportions, the overall sizing of the figure. Of course, talking sizing in the sense that he is different from the norm, but he does have a lot better likeness for me when it comes to the head sculpts, the hair, just compared to what I think of when I think of a Figuarts. I think there's a little bit more surface area to work with, and they get it down a little bit better. So the expression on this guy is out of the box anyway, is really well done. He's got that nice scowl, and the eyes are really clean and crisp. All the facial features are very clean, very crisp, no issues there. The hair is, no pun intended, very much on point. Sculpt is nice. Color is really saturated and super deep, so I'm happy with that. There is an interesting sort of engineering aspect to the face and the head. We'll get to that when we talk about accessories, but I like what I'm looking at visually here. You can get him to stand here and just sort of look exactly like Goku. Like, he very much looks in many ways to me like he jumped right out of the screen. There are just a few little visual hiccups when it comes down to how they set up all these joints from the hips on down. They're just different, and they are not really what I expected once I had it in hand. Now, as far as size comparisons for this guy, this is probably the best one to go with right out of the gate. So we've got our Saiyan Raised on Earth Goku Figuarts, and you can see, I mean, there's a huge difference in size here. So you've got a much larger figure in all respects. He's taller, so he has to be bulkier, just by the physics of the thing. So he's a much bigger figure in all respects. But I do think in one way that we get some improvement is just the ability to have a better look on this figure. I think this is a much more refined figure visually than this guy, and he definitely is his own thing. So right now he's not going to mesh with too many other lines because Goku shouldn't be super tall, so he's not really going to work compared to other figures. But let's see what he looks like next to a few other lines that are more normal, because Figuarts tend to skew a little bit small. So we're talking 6-inch, and then of course some other 7-inch lines. So let's move Goku aside, and here he is with a G.I. Joe. So here he is with Destro, and you can see he's absolutely massive. What about a larger figure though? So here he is with the Super 7 Bebop, and Bebop is bigger than Goku. So of course, scaling doesn't work here at all. Goku doesn't scale with Destro, he's way too big. Goku doesn't scale with Bebop. Well, both of them are kind of big in that regards, but they don't really work together in concert. It's not that kind of thing. So again, he's very much his own thing right now. Here he is with something that's a little bit on the smaller side normally. So there he is with a NECA turtle. Of course, that's again way too small. And then here he is with a Black Series, so you know what's coming. We're going to do the Mando. So there he is with the regular Mando, and you can see that, I mean, he absolutely towers over Din Djarin there. So again, like I said, he is a much bigger figure than what we're used to when it comes to getting Dragon Ball stuff as far as articulated figures, and he does not really scale with anything. Is that really a problem? It's not exactly one for me, but of course it's something to point out that this is definitely outside of the norm when it comes to Dragon Ball anything. Now, as far as accessories goes, this guy is pretty well stocked. There is a decent amount of stuff in this box, but it's mostly because of how they've decided to implement the extra heads, things of that nature. So to start with, we've got, of course, a change up here. We've got a Super Saiyan head on him. And this is an entire new hair sculpt that you then plug eyes and a face onto. And in a general sense, I think this looks really good. I'm happy with the sculpt. I'm really happy with the finish. So it's yellow with a touch of kind of like a gold to it with some white frosted tips. And then you've got like a metallic spray over top of it. So it shines really, really well. I will say, though, that when swapping this out, the hair is super, super pointy. Like, it's not easy on the hands when it comes to swapping this guy out. It's honestly downright painful in some respects. So, you know, buyer beware, words of the wise. It does look really good, though. It's just kind of a pain, no pun intended, to actually swap this guy out. But you've got various choices here. So you've got a Super Saiyan head, you've got a regular Goku head, which is this, or the hair rather, and you've got sets of eyes, and then you've got faces. So we've got this face right here. So you've got a set of eyes right here. So this is him kind of looking off to his left, your right, and you can pop a face on that. So do something like that, and then you've got him looking off to the right. Swap this out, and then you've got, you know, him yelling while looking off to the right, things like that. So you've got two different faces for regular Goku, him yelling, and then the stoic one that was on him in the box. And then for Super Saiyan Goku, you've got the same. So you've got a gritting of the teeth, kind of really mad face, and then you've got a stoic face for him. And it's the same situation. So you've got a set of eyes. Each of them have a set of looking to the left, and then they've got a set of looking to the right. Well, his right, your left, and then they've got a set of looking straight forward eyes. So you've got two sets of hair, two faces for each, and the faces they're different. So you've got a stoic face for one, stoic face for the other, you've got a screaming head for regular, and a gritting of the teeth head for Super Saiyan, and then you've got three sets of eyes for each. And of course, none of that stuff is really interchangeable because of the color. So you don't have a screaming face for Super Saiyan because the eyebrows don't match up, that kind of thing. I do really like this idea because it does allow you to change things up a little bit more subtly rather than having a bunch of faces in the box. So you've got two faces with, three options for each face. So it's kind of a cool little way to just change things up. It is, of course, a little bit more cumbersome. And then, of course, you've got to deal with the pointy hair when it comes to smashing it all together. But he does look really good. And then he comes with extra hands as well. So you've got fists on him in the box. So you've got him right here. And then we've got a set of splayed finger hands. You've got a set of kind of gripping hands, but they're more kind of style pose hands also. You've got a set of sort of charging up hands. And then you've got a set of two finger pointing hands. So, pointing hands or instant transmission. I will say that I really, really wish that he came with an energy effect, because that's the one thing I usually gripe about when it comes to figure arts where they don't include something, and the same thing exists here. I would love to have a really big Kamehameha just charging effect or anything, some sort of aura effect even, just to make him have a little bit more shelf presence. He does also come with a stand, and this is a very specific stand. So you've got an actual Imagination Works Son Goku stand, so it's emblazoned with the name down there. It's white, and you do have a few options. So you've got a hinge down here at the base. You've got the arm that also hinges up here at the top, that hinges here. So this is a way to hold him at the waist. And then you've got the normal sort of Tamashii gripper that we see. So you can pop these pieces out and hold him by, like up on his arms or something. But this will sit underneath his crotch to provide a little bit more support if you want to do something like that. So he does come with a lot of stuff in the box. It's an interesting way to change out faces and expressions and everything. You've got a number of options there. And then you've got 10 total hands, including the fists. The only thing I really think that we're truly missing is any kind of energy effect. And I was going to say that no matter what kind of release this is, I just want them all to have them because I just want them. So overall, there's a lot to like about this figure, but there's also stuff that I really find myself kind of scratching my head about, and also some stuff that I think is just room to grow. I do like the idea of having these figures, even though they exist outside of any kind of normal scale. 1/9 scale is definitely kind of a weird scale. It's a one-off thing really right now, and it will look really cool on a shelf, you know, in the background or just among other larger figures. He doesn't really scale with much. That's usually not a big deal for me. My true hang-ups on this figure are really the articulation from the waist down. He's got really weird hip articulation, and he's got really wonky knees, and it's mostly an aesthetic thing for the knees for me. They move well enough, but they do look really odd. Otherwise, though, I think the sculpt is really nice. I think the overall appearance is really good. Paint, where it is cleanly applied. And the face, it's really about the face, too. The face looks so much better than a lot of the other figure arts that we have, just because there's more room to pack in more detail, and I think they really do that quite well. The overall bundle of accessories is really nice also, save for the lack of any kind of effect piece, and otherwise, it's a pretty interesting new look into Goku. I'm really interested to see where this line goes. So that's going to do it for this look at the Bandai Tamashii Nation's Imagination Works Goku. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.